Last week, we dove into a Mrs. Greenapple song that was suggested to me by a viewer, and I thoroughly loved that song. The performance was absolutely astounding, and you guys in the comments clearly loved my reaction to it and told me that I actually really need to read the lyrics of this song and really dive into it because the song has some really just a really great story or message or something like that behind it. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to actually dive in the music video, dive in the lyrics, and see what they're all about. And I do realize now, after the math, or after the fact, whatever way you want to say it, that I just interpreted the name of the title of the song and said it was called About Me, but I realized the actual title track is called Boku no Koto. So I apologize for that. So today we're actually going to dive into Boku no Koto, not About Me, because that didn't make sense, and we're going to see what they have for us. So let's go ahead and do this thing. I'm very, very excited. Here we go. Interesting. So we're starting off here saying, what's the difference between me and you? We're all the same creatures, but I'm scared of something. I hope everyone was like that too. So I guess we haven't really dove into exactly what he's scared of. He's just saying, I hope everyone was like that too. Maybe he's just saying, I hope everybody's scared of this thing that he's talking about. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay. そうならいいながむしゃらに生きて誰か笑う悲しみ切るには早すぎるいつも僕は自分に言い聞かせる明日もあるしね So good. Okay, before we keep going here, let's kind of break this down a little bit here. Okay, so what a wonderful day. Today that I feel happy. Sorry, let me make sure I'm actually talking to the mic, sorry. And I'm waiting and not giving up. In a narrow but wide world, we know how to fly to the sky. We forget as we grow up, even wounds that can't be healed. It's all about me. So it sounds to me like this is very much a song of saying, because before we said, what's the difference between me and you? And then he says, I know we're both creatures, but there's something that I fear, or something like that. And so it sounds to me like the fact that we're talking about the idea of today, basically him saying, today I feel happy, saying I'm waiting and I'm not giving up. It sounds like we're kind of diving into I don't want to, what could this be? We're kind of diving into almost the idea of somebody who struggles maybe with eternal conflicts, if you will, or as I sometimes say, like demons, which is a very strong word to say, but I feel like as human beings, we all battle our own demons, is what I always like to say. We all have something inside of us, whether it's doubts, or whether it's fears of not being accepted by somebody, or the fear of losing people, or even people that are like afraid of death itself. We all have, and even going into the idea of mental, as they call them, mental disorders, which I hate that terminology, but, something like that, where we all face, some of us might face anxiety, some of us might face depression, some of us might face, bipolar disorder, whatever the case may be. We all have something we're battling internally. I think that's why in the beginning he says, what's the difference between you and me? Well, that difference is I'm battling something, but maybe you aren't. And him to say here also, it's all about me. It's about me and my battle. It's about me and my internal struggles. It's not so much about you, because you aren't facing what I'm facing. Now, this person might be facing something totally different, but it's almost this idea of the song as being selfishly saying, this is what I'm going through, and I'm actually having a good day, so I'm going to cherish that, because even wounds that can't be healed. Yeah, so okay, so that makes sense. So saying even wounds that can't be healed, saying the things that I'm dealing with cannot be erased. You can't necessarily get rid of anxiety. You can't really get rid of depression or whatnot. You can tame it by taking medication or seeing a therapist or whatnot and stuff, but it's always going to be a part of you. So basically saying that is basically throwing into the idea of we can always have good days, and we can have bad days, and we can have horrific days, but it's all about continuing to move forward, I think is what they're kind of going for. But let's keep going. I'm curious to see if that is on the right track or not. Very cool. There are feelings that cannot be conveyed. Sometimes it's just not possible to convey what we're feeling internally. Sometimes it's impossible for us to describe, like, it's like when you ask somebody, well, why are you depressed? How are you supposed to answer that question? You just feel sadness, and it's not even like that type of sadness where it's like, oh, I'm sad because of the loss of somebody. I'm sad because I got broken up with. It's even farther than that. It's a sadness that sometimes doesn't let you get out of bed in the morning and want to even start your day. It's a sadness that makes you feel like you're worthless, and you don't really find even a reason to want to live your life anymore. It's that kind of level of depression where you don't know how to answer that question. So him saying this, there are feelings that can be conveyed, that's exactly what I think he's tapping into. Sometimes you can't convey how you're feeling and why you feel the way you feel. And it gets frustrating for that person, because like you just want to be able to have somebody understand what you're feeling and what you're trying to say, but it's like you can't convey it. It's almost like being a child who's trying to learn how to speak. The child doesn't know how to explain himself as what he or she, I should say, wants, so all they can do is cry. And then the parent has to kind of figure out what do they want by asking questions like, oh, did you want juice? Oh, do you want milk? Oh, are you hungry? Oh, do you need to go to the bathroom? Stuff like that. And you have to basically just play that game of like finding out, okay, what is this child actually wanting that they can't convey without, being able to use words right now. And it's kind of like, a similar situation to this. It's like, it's just so frustrating because you're like, I just want somebody to understand how I'm feeling, but I can't get it out. And I think that's what he's talking about here. See? And that's why he feels lonely sometimes, because people can't understand what they're feeling or this person's feeling, so that makes them feel lonely, because nobody wants to try to help them out sometimes, because every time they try to help them out, it's just the same answer, and they're like, okay, well, if you can't even tell me what you're feeling, then how am I supposed to help you? And then they just get left behind, and it's so sad and so just disappointing that sometimes people are like that, where sometimes people just want to be heard, they just want to be listened to, they don't want to hear, they sometimes just want to talk, they don't want to be asked all these questions like, well, why do you feel depressed? Why do you feel this way? Sometimes you just want to be listened to, man. You know what I'm saying? It's so frustrating, because I've been through that and I understand how that feels. It's like sometimes I'm just like, shut up and listen to what I have to say. I don't want solutions. I just want to be heard, See, going back to the idea of wanting to relate. Is everybody else like this? Does anybody else know what I'm going through?
僕だけじゃないと思えるかななんて素敵な日だ誰かを好きでいる今日も頬濡らし眠れる今日も
I'm gonna sleep, my cheeks wet because I'm crying.
狭い広い世界で僕らは歌う
That's a really cool way of representing that. To the flowers that bloom in winter, life will sprout. So what's really cool about saying this is, normally if you think about winter time, winter is when all the leaves fall off the trees are very bare, most of the time you're not going to see a lot of flowers growing. So when he says to flowers that bloom in winter, to the idea of a flower that actually blooms during wintertime when there is no sun, when there's nothing that really is there to help nourish that, it's basically saying, you know, if we relate to the human side, even during the darkest of times, life will sprout. So even during the darkest of times, life will still carry on. We can still find a way or a meaning to life and keep wanting to live the life that we have been given. You know, it's the idea of, even though we're going to struggle, even though there's going to be times that we are not going to be at our best, amongst those darkest hours of our life, darkest days, darkest weeks even, life will still continue on. Life still has meaning, and we must find that thing that will keep us going. And it's a really cool way of relating that to the idea of flowers growing in the winter, in time where flowers normally don't grow, to that of that darkness that you might relate to wintertime is still a time where we can grow and still be able to live our life. Really cool.
奇跡は死んでいる努力も孤独も報われないことがあるだけどねそれでもね今日まで歩いてきた日々を人は呼ぶそれがね奇跡だと
Circling back around to that question. That's cool. I like that. I will live my life as myself. And I love this so much because it ties in the idea of we are all gifted our own lives. We are all gifted this opportunity at life to live it the way that we want to. So instead of trying to be somebody we're not, trying to embody some version of ourselves that our parents want us to be, or a girlfriend, or a husband, or a wife, or a boyfriend, whatever the case may be, instead of basically trying to sculpt this fake version of ourselves to please other people, whether it's family, a loved one, or I should say a a significant other or a teacher or a boss or whatever the case may be, instead of trying to be this person that we're not. As Motoki says here, live your life as yourself. Who do you want to be? Who, if you are, if you're going to be that emo kid, if you're a nerd, if you're somebody that, wants to dress a certain way, if you want to be gay, if you want to be straight, if you want to be transgender, whatever the case may be, live your life the way you want to. It's your life. You only have one chance at it. So why don't you do it the way you want to? Who cares what other people think? There's going to be that group for you. There's going to be that group of people that accept you and love you for who you are. And that is exactly the people that you keep close to you. Don't try to pull people in your life that aren't going to support you and help you grow to be the person you want to be and to be successful in life, because they're just going to be you're just going to be battered down all the time. And that's not fair to you. So surround yourself with people that do accept you for who you are and live your life the way you want to, because that is what matters the most. That is why we were put on this earth, to live a life that we can feel that we fulfilled ourselves, to to a life that we are proud of, and we were able to make an indent on somebody else's life, whoever that might be. And that's the beauty of life, and that's why it's so heartbreaking to see people that struggle through the stuff that I mentioned before, and they don't have anybody, because there's this horrible, horrible thing that we see where people who suffer from anxiety, from depression or whatnot, tend to be the ones that are left alone the most, because people don't want to try to, it's because I think people want to just tell people either, no, you're not depressed, you're fine, suck it up, you're okay. Or they try to help that person, but their version of helping is just constant questions of, well, why you feel this way? Why you think you're depressed? Why is this? Why is that? And 9 times out of 10, it's like, I don't want a solution. I just want to be heard. I just want somebody that's going to be able to help me forget about these, demons inside me for just for an hour or for a couple minutes or whatnot. Make me, be able to feel some happiness or some relief. And I think that's why some of these people that suffer through this stuff end up being left alone and feel lonely, as Motoki's mentioned too throughout the song. And it's so disheartening, and it breaks my heart to pieces, because I just want to give those people a hug. I just want to be able to sit there and let them talk for even hours. I don't care. I will sit there and listen to you talk, because I know what you're going through, because I've experienced it myself, and I understand what those people need, because I know that I was in that same position many times. But anyways, we're wrapping up the song, so let's keep going.
君とでは何が違うそれぞれ見てきた景色がある僕は僕として今を生きてゆく
But that's okay. I think this is the same as what we heard before already. Wow. What a insanely powerful, powerful song from these guys. That was actually stupendous. That was... I mean, I honestly don't really get that often the opportunity to really... No, I guess most of the lives actually do have good translations in terms of the captions. So usually, I do have a good time, or good ability to translate and figure out the meaning behind a lot of other songs. But what I was going to say is, I think this one might be one of their most powerful ones yet. Because, like I've said before, I'm not going to reiterate everything, because I've already talked way too much in terms of interpreting this throughout the entire video. But I think as an overall final synopsis here, I think that the idea and meaning behind this song is, we all face our own demons. We all face eternal struggles, whether that be depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, whatever the case may be. We all face something eternally, even abuse for that matter. We could even throw that in there too, the idea of abuse, whether it be from a family member or somebody who was abused by, a bully in school or whatnot. Even that can be something that would be considered an internal struggle for somebody. Anything along those lines, I would say, is something that you almost come to this idea of, is it just me? And it's interesting, because it's like, we kind of are stuck on ourselves, like, oh my gosh, why me? Why am I going through this? You know, it's like he says in the thing, he said, it's about him, it's about me, in that one part during the chorus. And I think that we as people forget that others struggle with some of the same things we do, or things that are far worse. This person over here might be struggling from depression and whatnot, but well, that's more of the deeper ones. Let's say this person over here might be struggling from. Well, no, I don't want to say that. Every situation like that should be treated as equally as the other. So this person might over here be like feeling that they have the worst situation because there's they're depressed or whatnot. But this person over here has gone through abuse from a family member, and they aren't even safe or don't feel safe living in their own home with somebody that was supposed to be raising them to be the best person they could possibly be for their own lives. This person over here is struggling with bipolar disorder. So some days they might be totally fine, but other days they just completely snap and they don't know why. And then a moment later they're fine. So I think that the song is basically saying we ourselves always are so focused on what we're struggling with and dealing with that we forget about, are other people struggling with this too? I think the idea is going back to what's the difference between me and you? What's the difference between the two of us? What are you going through versus what am I going through? And I think that it shows the idea of almost like the journey that we go through, where he mentions the idea of, hey, I'm having a good day today. I've been able to push through and being able to live life a little bit more easier today. And it's a kind of journey that we're going through of this person that goes through that feeling throughout the day of, I'm doing great, I'm not doing great. Now everything feels like it's all going to end, and then we're okay again. There's up and down of feelings that this person's feeling, but then you also have the idea of, well, are other people experience this too? Do other people have it worse than me? Are there people, or is anybody out there who actually can even understand what I'm going through? And so I think it's the combination of almost this self-centeredness that we might have and the journey we're facing when we're going through struggles, but we don't consider the fact that, wait, there might be somebody else out there going through it like what I'm going through, and I can relate to them, and we can work together to be able to be each other's like mental or physical support and whatnot. And I think that's kind of just the beauty of this, is that as much as we think that we might be struggling through something eternally by ourselves, there's always somebody out there who's going through it just as much as us. And it should not be that way. We should be able to live our lives without these struggles. But unfortunately, life is hard. Life is difficult. We are faced with things that we didn't imagine we'd be faced with. Even some of us kids, were ejected with, all these different, vaccines and, ejections when we were kids. And some of those messed us up, especially us millennials. We have, a lot of that, situation going on. And I think the biggest thing to remember is that when you're going through these struggles, when you're going through something in life that is very difficult and feels like it's inescapable, remember to surround yourself by the people that are going to support you. Don't surround yourself with people that are going to put you down. They're not going to be there for you. They're going to make you feel like, oh, you're not depressed. You're not. You don't have anxiety. You're fine. Just suck it up. Deal with it. You're okay. Don't surround yourself with those people. Surround yourself with people, whether it's your family members, your friends, whether it's even a teacher or, therapists or whatnot. Surround yourself around with people who are going to help you be able to live your life to the very best despite what you might be going through. Because like I said before, you only have one life. So it's important that you live that life the way you want to, the way that will make you feel fulfilled and feel like when you leave this earth one day, you can say, damn, I lived a great life surrounded by amazing people, and I know that I'm letting my children or my grandchildren or whatever, whoever might follow your lineage, they are going to be able to continue my legacy, knowing that I raised them properly or that I showed them, how strong and amazing human being I am. And honestly, I challenge you guys today, if you are struggling through anything, go look yourself in the mirror and go tell yourself, I am beautiful. I am amazing, and I am not ashamed of who I am. I tell you, do that because it'll make a difference in your life. If you do that every day for a month straight, I can tell you right now, the aura that you feel about yourself, the way you feel about yourself, will be totally different. I guarantee you. I've seen studies that say that positive affirmation is the biggest thing to helping yourself feel better and to be able to accept who you are and be comfortable in your own skin. So I challenge you guys, do that if you want to. I'm not gonna force you to, but if you want to try to see a little bit of impact on how you feel and view yourself, try that, and I bet you'll feel a lot better. So yeah. Anyways, been talking way too long. So, anyways, guys, great song. Love the song to pieces. Amazing message as always from these guys. So I can't wait to continue this journey with you guys and dive into more music. So I appreciate you guys suggesting more stuff for me to dive into in my last video. So they'll definitely get into those too going forward. But anyways, guys, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel by clicking down below. Now go ahead and play some reaction playlist for Mr. Green Apple over here. You can check the most recent reaction already over here. As always, thank you all so much for watching and showing the support, and I will see you all in the next video. Alright guys, bye!